And so I think he does an amazing job at that. I'm going to add him to this. Jermaine, can you introduce yourself to my audience?
Hi, I'm Jermaine Morris. I'm a certified coach and consultant with a practice based around a DISC assessment and running programs, which are the whole root is like self-awareness without judgment. So kind of looking at how we are, how we do things, the systems that we work on, and not looking at it through the scope of if it's right or wrong, good or bad, but like just is. How do we do things? How do we address things? How do we solve problems? How do we interact with people? How do we exchange information? All that sort of stuff. And then seeing if there are changes that are necessary, keep what works and shift what doesn't.
Yes. And I've taken it, and so many people have taken it, and it's a really good tool. I always tell him for people that have been here before, like he's a self-awareness guru, because I think like self-awareness is really the first step to changing how, we can see things and changing just the direction in our way of thinking about like the solution. Can't create a solution if you're not self-aware.
Very much so. Yeah.
So on the segment, Jermaine I like to kind of figure out, because he works with people, I work with people, but I like to get his perspective on some things that he may see as a pattern or that he's working on. So tell me a little bit about what you've been kind of passionate about or what you've been working on lately.
I always joke and say like the universe kind of has themes, like the same. I'll keep hearing the same situation amongst complete strangers, and that lets me know that there's something in the ecosystem. There's something that's happening that seems to be a theme. And so like lately, something that keeps coming up is people looking at where our life is or isn't, and then looking at our patterns of behavior. And one of the major things that keeps coming up is a lack of completion, like a lack of follow through. And so my money doesn't look like the way it looks. Okay, well, have you tried saving? Yeah. Well, what does that track record look like? Well, my goal is to save $1,000. I get to 600, then I start spending. My goal is for the relationship to get better, for the marriage to get better. So we start with the date night. We start with this and that. 3 weeks in, I'm not getting the results I want. So I stop. Trying to work out for a strong 3.5 weeks.
Right.
The scale still says the same number. Now all of a sudden those workouts start getting fewer and further between. Yeah.
And one of the things I've said, I like to use this analogy, like if I'm at A and I'm trying to get to Z, I can't see Z, right? But I can see B. And I think that people don't understand that in order to get to that level, you have to go through A, B, C, and D. What do you think prevents people from, that lack of understanding that like each step of the way, like is getting you to the point that you're trying to get to? Like where does the disconnect come where people kind of stop the process and don't go to C?
I've seen two trends. So one is I'm not seeing results. So if you're, like anybody's worked with a trainer or worked out whatever, like you'll work out those first few days, you're hurt, you're sore, but the scale literally says the same number. Like, so there's not a trust in the process. I'm a lot of people are married to the outcome, not the process. So if I'm not seeing the results I want in what I deem a timely enough fashion, it's hard to stick with it. And so I see some people who they abandon ship before they get there, because it's like, you keep telling me Z is out there. Now you didn't show me B and C and D and E and F and all that, but I don't see Z. And they get discouraged before they get there because they don't trust that if you just keep going, Z is out there. If you keep going, you'll see it. But they quit before they get there.
And that's the first one that trend that you're seeing. And so with this particular thing, as far as like when I think about it from a psychological standpoint, I think about how I tell people our brain will do what we tell it to do. And so if I think sometimes if people aren't used to getting encouraged or being able to celebrate moments, their mindset starts to think in that way.
Yeah.
And so when we say not seeing, it's not that it's not there. It's just that you're not being like mindful of that. Because I know in my sessions, I'll be like, wow, do you realize that you said no? Like something as minor as no for somebody else may not be a big deal, but because you've struggled with that. And that one situation, that's actually a result. And so when I pointed out, people like, oh my gosh, you're right. Actually, I did do that. It's like, you were there, but were you there? Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
It does, because if the goal is to walk a mile, and your only attachment is to the mile, last week you could only walk 200 yards. Now you're at a half mile.
Yeah.
You don't celebrate the small win of now you can walk a half mile. You're just beating yourself up or giving up because you're not at the mile marker. You know, like,
yeah. And even with the gym analogy that you gave, I think like even if the scale isn't changing, the fact that you're picking up water instead of soda, that's a change in your habit. The fact that you even got up to go to the gym, like that's a change. And it's
all
like
part of the process.
All a part of the process. And so like this is like really good in the way that you're framing this, because there's so like unfortunately the average person thinks this way, which is why there's all of these unfinished projects. It doesn't have to be literally, but it could be like, I want to read a book, or I want to have a better relationship with my kids or my spouse. And you feel like nothing's changing. But if you can take a step back and take inventory, I feel like you'll start to see it, because even though we said not seeing it, it's not because it's not there. It's because you're not paying attention to it.
Yeah. And if you're only hung up on the finish line, if that's the whole litmus test of if it's worth it or not, you know, like that's where it can get very easy to just get like, man, forget this. Like, and especially if we've trained ourselves to be reward based upon the finish line, like the only value we have is in the end, then all those increments and all those steps don't have value. And so, you know, you went from, you know, a walk from the couch to the kitchen, you was winded. You've walked 3/4 of the way now, and it doesn't matter. Like, you don't even care. Like, it's not the mile, so it doesn't matter. You know, it's not this, so it's nothing. You know, we're not lovey-dovey, huggy, this and that. Well, yeah, y'all wasn't even talking 6 months ago, though. Like, you got served divorce papers last year. Like, at least y'all is at least, you know, on date night now. Like, you're making steps. It may not be what you wanted, like the picture in your head, but it doesn't mean that there's nothing.
That's really good. I like that a lot. The picture in your head. And I think like expectation and what they think it should look like, and really can get people caught up and not being happy. I always say a lot of times your lack of happiness is not about like something that's happening outside of you. Sometimes people have these like perceived conflicts that's not really a conflict. It's really a matter of making a decision and deciding and paying attention and becoming self-aware. But a lot of times we just kind of stay in our own head, and it's hard to see our progress because of the way that we're like processing it.
Yeah. It's was it can't see the forest for the trees. You know, just depending upon what our focus is. So the self-awareness part is like, what am I focused on? Like, looking at the way that we approach it, am I just finish line orientated? Like, some people on the walk, the distance isn't the issue, it's where you're going. So, but some people, they don't have vision, so they just stare at their feet. So, okay, yeah, you've walked for 6 months. You're supposed to walk from here to the store, which is a mile away. You're at the park 5 miles away, but in the wrong direction, because you were just staring at your feet the whole time. So some people are zeroed in on, you zeroed in on the steps, but you didn't have vision of what you were doing. So you still missed the mark and gave way more effort than what was necessary. And now you feel just as defeated, because you're like, I keep trying. I keep doing this. Yeah, but you didn't have a plan. You didn't have a vision. You didn't have a set goal, and you weren't. So you do need to be focused on the finish line, but not only the finish line.
Right.
And so for some people, they don't focus on the finish line at all. Like, you done all this, but nothing at the same time.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You did everything and nothing at the same time.
It's like their wheels are spinning and they're not understanding why. But you're absolutely, that's another good point about that. Not paying attention and ending up in the wrong direction, but exerting a lot of energy.
Yes.
So I can see how that could be discouraging for someone.
Yeah, you're like, I tried, I did this and this and this. And so steps of implementation, like what is it you're doing? Because I go to the gym every day. Yeah, but you changed your workout regimen, but you didn't change your diet.
Right.
So yes, you're going to the gym every day, but you didn't give up the Snickers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're like, well, I'm trying, but I'm not getting abs. Yeah, what was
Right.
it? Abs are made in the kitchen. Like the Cheetos is keeping you. It's not the gym. Like it's not wrong with the gym workout. The gym workout is fine. You're getting up every day, you're doing what you steps and all that stuff. Yeah, but you got to make these adjustments over here.
Yeah, that was literally my story.
Yeah, the process stuff. You know, you gotta look at all the details of the process.
So go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
Oh no, I was saying, so those are people who have issues. So the two types of people I was looking at, like there's the process people who either don't respect it, don't appreciate it, or need to kind of maybe rework or reevaluate their process. And then you have the people who are trying to get back to the A to Z. They can't leave A to B unless the way they leave A is perfect. I can forget A to Z. Every step from A to B has to be a perfectly aligned step. The sun has to be shining just right on their side of the sidewalk. They got to have the right outfit on, the proper shoes. They have to have everything has to line up. The stars have to be in perfect alignment from them to go from A to B. And then perfect alignment from B to C. And so they don't even get to E because all these things in their mind they built up that has to be perfect that most of them can't get started.
And that idea of, and this is the second
these are the second group,
right? And the idea of it being perfect.
Yeah.
Where do you think that comes from? That kind of perfectionism mindset. I know people get really anxious when it feels like it's not good enough. What do you think that's about for people?
That group is kind of the root of why I do self-awareness without judgment, because judgments are usually what got people to that mentality. You're so worried about getting it wrong. You're so worried about disappointing somebody. You're so worried about receiving judgment from somebody, critiques, comments, so the way that what you think you're going to hear if it's not perfect. No, I'm me and I only do everything perfect. And if I can't do it perfect, I don't do it at all. There's a lot of people who operate in that space, and it's to the point to where they're just frozen. And it's just like, I want to do this, but if I can't, and then that's where it usually links to procrastination. Because if it's not, I can't go if it's not 100. So I'm at 98% and I'm stalling out at 98. So I'm just going to put it off until I can try again tomorrow and get 100. Okay, well, today is 99%. I'll put it off to tomorrow, but then tomorrow I'm at 72%. Then it's 68. Then it's now all of a sudden you've got become like options and choice hoarders. You just start hoarding all these options, all these ideas, all these choices, all these decisions, just hoarding them, not making a decision on them, not trying to move forward on anything, but just all this. Well, I'll try this, or I'll do that, or I might do this, or I'll go from A to Z. I'll go left. Now I'll go right, or maybe I'll do that. You make all these options, but don't actually start anything. Just hoarding all these ideas and thoughts and options, but nothing. Like the person who get lost, the first group, they're moving. They may be going from A to K, A to L, like they're doing something. The other group is literally standing in the same place, but running a marathon in their mind.
Yeah. And that I know are people that they end up being very anxious, but also those people that are stalling. I try to talk about the not doing anything is making it worse.
Yeah.
I, the way I process with them is kind of letting them know that when they start and push past the idea of perfectionism, it's going to feel hard. Like there's no way around it. But then I say, but would you rather like this moment feel hard or just kind of feeling hard throughout life? What kind of ways? And for people that are the first time in this like podcast with Jermaine and I, and like what we discuss and the way that we discuss it, we have a ton of episodes. If you go to CelesteTheTherapist.com/podcast, you can actually click on a link that will give you there's self-sabotage and there's expectation. A lot of the things that he's talking about right now, there's full episodes on it. But I'm curious about how do you work with people, because long-term gratification and results don't happen. In the short term, maybe not doing it is like you getting comfortably uncomfortable
Yeah.
not doing it. But long term, I feel like when you know you can do better, you struggle more.
Yeah. So one is kind of working it, because something I'm working on lately is working on the idea of first off, completion over perfection. So if you ever talk to somebody who's a grown adult who's never been in a fight before, so like if you've never been hit before, there's a belief that you have that can be like it catastrophizing. Like it's just, it could be like you can be so paranoid and so terrified with. But if you've ever been in a fight where you've been hit square in your face, you realize that like it's not the end of the world. Like if you've ever been fired from a job, like the people you'll talk about, the perfectionist ones, they've never been fired. They've never been beat up.
Walked a straight line or tried to walk a straight line.
Or they just stayed out the way. Like what the thing is, their fear of what that thing is. It's what's keeping them. But when we know those people have been fired from every job they've ever worked, the fear of getting fired is not there. Like this, like what you gonna do? Fire me? All right. And get the supervisor. Get him. Like just you're not frozen to make a move because you understand that it's not the end of the world. If you've ever been hit before, you realize like, okay, I'm not going to accept all this disrespect and all this craziness. I know what a punch feels like. I'm willing to roll the dice on this. Like you're not going to scare me out of living or scare me into accepting your disrespect. Like once you've taken a couple of lumps, you kind of so for some people, they never take the lumps because they're so afraid of what the lump will do to them. And so when you're kind of working with somebody, it's like, look, just come on, put your toe in the water. But Jaws is out there. No, he's really not. You know what I mean? Or you know, like just put your toe in. It's gonna be this. Failure's gonna feel like that. And a bad grade's gonna feel like this. Getting fired is gonna feel like that. Getting dumped is gonna feel like this. And we'll stay in a whole, like we'll do all these things and not be our genuine selves, not take actual chances and risks, not do the things that would be fulfilling and give us passion and energy and all this because we're so worried about what could happen. So sometimes you just got to come on.
And I like how you said, put the toe in the water, you know, because one thing is I'm really good at meeting people where they are. And, you know, if we're using the, like getting in the pool analogy, just because you can't like, I think sometimes some of the way we set up the goals is like, all right, I'm going to get in the water. And so like, that's not really realistic if you have this complete fear, but maybe I could put like a finger and a toe and obviously we're using this scenario as an example of, you know, some of the bigger things that people are trying to accomplish. And I think if you can work, and it goes back to kind of celebrating those like moments and paying attention to the growth. But in order to be able to do that, you got to start off small. And starting small, people be like, oh, but I have, you know, it's so far away. But every day you don't do anything, it's still the same thing. So why not start small and in the moment? I think, I don't know what it is with our society that is very much about just results. You know, I don't like to blame I like to blame anything for anything because I feel like we have power. But I do know, like a lot of times on social media, people see results. They don't see the process. And so in some people's minds, they can, you know, have this idea that things just kind of happen that way. Which is why with this podcast, I get to talk to people and have them share their stories so people can understand there's been bumps in the road for people and how they've been able to get through it. And I think part of getting through it is just putting your toe in the water.
Yeah, and what you'll find is when you have those people who are like, okay, well, we're at the swimming pool, we're at the lake, we're at the river, whatever. Put your toe in the water. No. Okay, well, have you ever taken a bath before? Well, yeah. Well, why can you get in the tub but not the pool? Well, I can see the bottom. Okay, so the water's not the issue. So your thing is you're fearful because you can't see the bottom. So let's start with stuff that you can see the bottom of. So we get you from a pool to maybe those little kiddie pools. Still see the bottom, so you can touch it. To maybe a jacuzzi, hot tub. You can see the bottom. Okay, well, this pool is only 3 feet deep. You're 5'10". So worst case scenario, we can just do math. Get out the feelings, just the math. If you stand up, you'll be at this point. Okay, I can do that. Okay, you're in a place that's now it's 5 feet. Okay, you're 5'10". What's the distance from the top of your head to where your mouth is? Okay, well, that's 6 inches. Okay, so worst case scenario, if you stood all the way up, the water would be hitting you at your shoulder blade. You can still breathe. You can still see. You can do it, right? Yeah, so you can be okay with 5 feet. Yes, I can do 5 feet. Okay, you're in 5 feet of water. If you can tread in 5 feet of water, you can actually tread in 10 feet of water. We're not putting you in the river and the ocean where there's currents and all that, but it's the same motion. It's the same. Okay, see, you've done that. So it's not the issue of treading water. It's not the issue of being in water. It's not the issue. So we can start checking off the things that you've created in your mind are what the problem is. Do you know what I mean? So we started with a list of 10 reasons why you don't want to get in the water, and we've narrowed it down to 2.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I love that a lot.
Yeah.
And that is the same, like what you're able to help them do is pull from resources to show them that they're already doing.
Yes.
And I do that too, like people completing their task or the things that they're passionate about, or things that they say they want to do. I think that's part of us being able to live life. Would you say that's fair? Like being able to live and not survive life. And I tell people, I'll pull from the things that we do to survive. We set our alarms to get up for work, or we will go to work when we're tired, like push past the feeling because we're in survival mode. And so I'll like what you do, what you use with the water thing, I'll use that with people so that they can see that there are things that they're already doing. They're just doing it for survival. So they have it in them. I like to pull from people's strengths to help them see their capabilities, because sometimes they're not able to see it in a certain way. So when you use that, it reminded me of how I kind of operate with people to help them.
Yeah, because the thing about being self-aware also is being aware of how we see ourselves. So if I value your opinion and your assessment more than I do my own, if you tell me to do something, I'll do it. But I don't trust myself enough to do it on my own. And so sometimes it's looking at like, okay, well, how come, well, so-and-so he told me to run a mile. Well, you ran a mile in gym. Well, yeah, well, because the teacher told me to. And whatever association I have with authority, I trust them to know what they're doing. So they told me to do it. So I just did it. Well, if you did it when somebody told you, can you just do it like on your own? Yeah, but then they get into that. What if it's got to be perfect, or it's got to be this? And they get in their head. Well, you've already done it. Like, you're already capable. Everything that you're saying that you're apprehensive about starting on your own, you've already done for everybody else. You did it in school. You did it at work. You did it when your parents told you. You did it. Now you just need to trust yourself as much as you trust them. Or at least be afraid of yourself as much as you're afraid of them. Something, whatever that gets you off the porch, like whatever that just gets this into motion. Like it's not an ability thing.
It's not an ability thing. No, it's not.
And so it's kind of addressing this with this youth program, addressing with these kids, specifically young males, kind of having this thought about like of completion, and a lot of them. I was finding this as a trend. A lot of them had a really, what was the best word? A lot of incompletes in what they were trying to do. And so there's kind of a mantra that we kind of use for whenever we're addressing stuff, whatever it is. And so number one is that ideas are nice. Effort is appreciated, but execution is worshiped. So ideas are nice. Everybody has 1,000,001 ideas. Like, ideas are nice. That sounds good. That's amazing. Good job. Effort is appreciated. You tried. You made a phone call. You made an email. Did a little research. People tell you, A for effort. But execution is worshiped. Your life is really going to be dictated by the things that you complete. Mm-hmm. So the things that you follow through on. And if you have a tendency and a history of not completing, of not following through, your life is going to look accordingly. A tendency to not save up for the goals that you want to have, a system of starting and stopping, a system of as soon as, the weather starts getting rough and the tiny ship gets tossed, that's when you throw in the towel. That's going to be consistent through a lot of things in your life.
Yeah. And do you feel that, our exposure to completion plays a role? Like, if I grew up in a system where I kind of seen things a certain way, do you think that plays a role in my ability to feel like I have the capability to complete? Not saying that it's a determining factor, but do you think it plays a role in people's consciousness?
Huge, because if you are around people who are someday, one of these days, you know, every day except the 7 that are on the calendar, one day, someday, any day, so like those days, yeah, it kind of creates a mentality that this is normal, that this is just what people do, that it's not a big deal. But what they don't realize is that it's pattern forming. And what is it? The way we do anything, the way we do everything. Like when you get into the habit of not completing stuff and the habit of not following through or finishing, it's what happens is that we equate effort to thinking that like that effort and completion are the same, and they're not. So you're like, I tried. Yeah, effort is appreciated. I get it that you tried, but what did you complete? Like what did you do? Like what's the finish line on some stuff? So there'll be people who get burnt out because you've got 15 tabs open, but nothing finished. You ran a half mile 15 times, but didn't complete the 1 mile race once.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I'm exhausted. I did. Yeah, you got all this stuff going on, all these irons in the fire, all these half of this and a quarter of that and a piece of this, and and you're exhausted and you're burnt out, but nothing is done.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to first being aware of, like, I always tell people, look at your computer. How many open tabs do you have right now? And you'll hear, I got like 17 open tabs. How many of those are you actually using for the thing you're doing right now? 1. I got some stuff I was looking at buying, some potential vacations I was going to take, some things that, allergies that dogs have, and I don't even own a dog. Like all these things that are in like open, all these open tabs. We have all these open tabs in our lives and nothing is being finished. So we're exhausted. We feel overwhelmed. We get discouraged. We get unmotivated because we got all these partials. But if we just start streamlining to completion, complete it, close it out, just like we close out on the tabs, like 17 tabs, go to each of them. Which one are you actually using for the task at hand? Zero all the ones out except for the one that you need. Complete the task at hand and close it out, then open another one. Mm-hmm. And the same kind of thing for life. It gets easy to get discouraged and get unmotivated because we've got 17 tabs open of partial completion. And it's just kind of like, why try? Mm-hmm. I don't have anything that I can hang my hat on that I finished, that I feel good about myself for. I've just got 17 failures because I'm involved in 17 partial things and none of them has come to fruition.
Right.
So to help, like to get, okay, let me just streamline what I'm doing. Let me just get to open 1 tab, 1 goal, 1 plan, 1 mission, complete that mission. Don't worry about if it's perfect. Don't worry about if let's just complete it. Mm-hmm. Get it done and go from there.
Yeah, that's good. And, with the tabs, and because it's so interesting because I can't operate if my space isn't like clear or if I have too many things open. I'll be like, oh, that's too much. And I'll start Xing it out because that's how clear my mind is. Yeah. And I do recognize like on the outside really can affect stuff on the inside.
Very much so.
And even though, I pointed out the fact that environment can play a role in the way that we process. I'm a living example on, just as a person that's an entrepreneur, I didn't grow up in that system. And there was a lot of fear in each step that I've taken to get to this space that I'm in now. But I knew what I wanted. So I knew Z, right? Yeah. And I also, from A to B, would celebrate those moments, right? So, when I realized I wanted to be a therapist and I'm like getting an associate's, taking my first class, a master's is a long time away, but each semester, each class, each paper, I'm like, wow, I did a good job. Like, I utilize those moments to celebrate. And so your environment does not have to, your past environment does not have to determine where you're going, but your current environment, like you do got to pay attention to like what you're allowing, what you're exposing yourself to, what you're doing, saying I try. Like if my clients be like, I tried to, okay, so what did that look like? or I'm gonna, okay, so what does that realistically look like? So really get clear with yourself about like what does trying really mean, because you might realize like, dang, I didn't actually put in enough effort, but I told myself that to try to settle myself for not doing it.
Yeah, that's why with no space I said effort is appreciated. You get the pat on the back for trying, but that's it. That's all you get. So if you're looking for the life that comes with people who complete and the life that comes with people who execute, you don't get that with just ideas and effort. So you want the marriage that your friends have. Okay, well, you know how your friends got that marriage? Why? Because they went to couples counseling before they got engaged and decided what type of family they wanted to build together and made sure that they were on par with the same values and beliefs. And then they were still seeing, they seek counsel when they were dating, when they got engaged. They had actually mapped out what their life wanted to look like. They still do check-ins and they still have all this stuff. And so when you see that marriage, that's what that looked like, because they completed a lot of steps and a lot of processes that they went through before they got to that point. You trying to just look like, oh, those ideas sound good, and I'll try one of those things for a little bit, but my marriage don't look like their marriage. Right. Yeah, because you're not following through with those things. That's why your money don't look like their money, because you don't save like they save, or you don't work like they work.
Right.
You know, like the completion on things and the follow through. And I just think that it can get, like I say, it can get hard, it can get discouraging, but the upside is that like you're saying, your environment does not necessarily dictate where you are. And I'm kind of the mindset is that it's a factor, but not as much as I think sometimes we rely on, because a candle is the same candle 3 o'clock in the afternoon as it is at 3 in the morning. A candle does not give off more light at 3 a.m. than it does at 3 p.m. Now, the effects may be different. If you're in the middle of the sun shining and you have a candle, you may not even notice that it's lit because the sun is so bright and there's so much light outside. Whereas at 3 in the morning when it's dark, that candle can light up an entire room because the room is dark. But the candle is the candle. The light it gives is the light it gives. So when we focus on how much external light there is for how much we value our light, that's the problem. Like, I have so much light to give if you need it or see it or not. I'm not changed. Like, I value the light that I have to give regardless of the environment I'm in.
True, but how do you get to that point of being able to recognize your light? And so I can be in a chaotic environment and still be that light. But in order for me to maintain that, when I think of environment, I think about the books we read. I think about what we do for our wellness practices. So in order to get to that point, wouldn't you have to curate your environment in that way, not necessarily like leave your home?
Yeah. So that's what, so the self-awareness part, tying into there. So the version of me now is not the version I've always been.
Mm-hmm.
So different environments, different type of stuff going on. There's been some, life like everybody else, in that this could have very easily gone left. Like this, there's a lot of forks in the road that got me here. This could have very easily, this could have been a completely different story. Could have been a case study. At some point, you just have to kind of look at yourself and is this working? Like we kind of talked on previous episodes, like really look at our life. Is this the life I want for me? Like, is this how I want to live? Is these the type of family I want to be in? Is this the kind of environment I want to be in? Okay, those things are factors, but they're not the end all be all indicator. Like, I've been in Chicago in the winter where it was negative 23 outside with the wind chill factor. If you dress properly, you can exist in the negative 23. The weather's not changing for you, but you're going to have a drastically different experience if you out there in a t-shirt and some shorts, as opposed to a parka and some wool socks and mittens and scarves and all that. So there are some of us who have to go through extra steps to insulate ourselves and prepare ourselves for the environment that we're in than somebody else. Mm-hmm. So somebody who grows up in 75 and it's sunny, all that, you may not have to go through these things that the person who grows up in negative 23 has to grow up into. You got different concerns. You know what I mean? You have a different set of environment, that things that you have to factor for. But the thing is that if you spend your whole life saying, my life should be like the person who grew up in 75-degree weather, so I'm going to dress like the person who grows up in 75-degree weather, but I'm dealing with problems now that are exponentially greater because not only is it negative 23, but I'm dressed like a 75. So not only do I have the negative 20, so now if I dress properly, it would just be cold. Now I'm dealing with hypothermia and I can't breathe. Like, so there are some things that we have to look at ourselves of like, okay, my parents were dysfunctional. Maybe there was alcoholism in the home. Maybe there was chaotic environments. There could have been abuse. Maybe the neighborhood I lived in, I had to turn into a track star because I was trying to get from home to school and still keep my lunch money in my shoes. Like, it's negative 23 where you're at in your life. So what happens? You read books, you get around people, you get in environments, and you get a pair of mittens, and you get a pair of socks, and you get some thermals, and you get some extra t-shirts and some extra layers, and you start learning the things we talk like coping mechanisms and coping skills. Coping mechanisms is crumpled up newspaper, sticking them down your pants. Coping skills are actually acquiring the proper thermals for the negative 23 that you got to go outside and deal with. And so those external environments will still start to get you prepared for the cold. And why I say it's important to like how our candle doesn't change, we're still the same person. So when we get into a situation where we're no longer in negative 23, we're just putting the thermals in the closet. We still have those coping skills. We still have those abilities. I just don't need them for this environment. So I'm going to go hang them up right now. And I still get to be me. Whether if I'm in negative 23 or if I'm in 73. That makes sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And knowing kind of when to utilize them. And I think, you know, with the coping skills piece, and there's an episode on this, what we're talking about now, but I think that when we're practicing it, it's not building up dust. Like when we're knowing like, this is what we need. What I need in Boston, Massachusetts is different than what Jermaine needs in California. Like we're in different places, but whatever it is that I need is working for me. Whatever it is that you need works for you, which is why I think a lot of times like we end up standing in our own way. And you know, that's, you know, for some people that aren't used to like taking ownership or responsibility, it's actually a powerful thing to do. Because then you start to see that you don't have to wait on someone else to get to where you need to go. But if you are, you know, if a lot of your vocabulary is like, well, because of this and because of that, like, yeah, I know like your parents were alcoholics, so this happened and that happened, but what's happening right now? And so I think a lot of times people tend to get stuck and they don't develop those like coping skills, but they stay like dwelled on the past. It's hard to see your way out. So, you know, I think in everything that we said today, you know, you can be the common denominator and being able to complete some of the tasks. And like the Chicago thing you just utilized, you didn't say that you read some books and did this and then you put on the full armor. You said you got some t-shirts, you got some, you know, it's the steps. It's not going to come in. It's not going to come in a complete box. And you know, I said this, I shared this before, but when my like introduction into entrepreneurship was working at a nonprofit, I was renting space for $10 an hour, and this guy who had a business, very successful, was like, "Oh, when are you going to have your own office?" And I was like, "You know, I got to get this, I need that, I got to get that." And he said to me, he said, "Celeste, you know, people like you will never have their own because you're waiting for everything to be in a nice, neat little package." And I'm a processor. I think I love challenges. I said, say less. And even though I didn't think I could afford a space, I went on Craigslist and actually found a space I was able to afford. And I think about those words and that I needed to hear that, because even though I didn't realize I was waiting for things to be in a nice, neat little package, when he said that, I realized that that's what was happening. I'm waiting for everything to be put together. And it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And I'll never forget those words. And now, even now, as I do things, each step I take, it doesn't, for me, it's like, I'm so grateful I don't have that perfectionism mindset, because I know it stands in people's way.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, I'm able to push forward with the fear. It's not that there's no fear or I'm not anxious about it, but I'm leaning into it. I'm not allowing it to direct my path. And I think it's an important kind of conversation people should work on having with themselves. Am I waiting for things to be in a nice, neat little package?
Yeah, and that's great, and thank you for that, because I think some people think that there's a group of people who are born with this just innate ability to just overlook everything and just persevere, and they don't share those feelings and those emotions, and that's not the case. It's not that there's just this group of people who are just completely fearless and they don't have any of those concerns. It's just like asking yourself, am I okay with everything staying the same? And that's really what this boils down to, for a lot of things in life. If everything stayed the same, would I be fine? This type of relationship, this type of family dynamic, this type of income, this type of passion towards my profession, if everything stayed the same, would I be fine? Is this cool from now on? If the answer comes back no, then it's going to require some kind of change. So not being afraid, like I said, okay, well, I'm gonna rent this space, and what happens if it all goes south? Okay, what's the worst case scenario? Okay, maybe I lost some money. Okay, what's the worst case? Okay, I got fired. What's the worst case? I got dumped. Okay, what's the worst case? I got beat up. I got whatever. Like, what is the thing that you're worried so much about? And just is the pain of losing some money greater than what you're currently going through? Is the pain of, whatever that thing that you're worried about, is that worse than, I know people who hated their job. And so they went the entrepreneur route. They're like, I was miserable at work every day. If I'm going to be miserable, at least I'm going to be miserable for me. And went out and started their own business just because, like, worst case scenario is if it's going to be, like, I can't feel worse than I do going to work every day. Like, they were like really depressed with their job. And then they had some struggles and some problems, but at least there was an ownership. Like, there was still there was a, at least I'm gonna fail for me. I'm not gonna fail for you, But
the part about the Jermaine said an important part, but what's the worst thing that can happen? I think, people will like say, oh, I'm anxious, and I'll say I'm anxious because, right?
Yeah.
So what's happening with a lot of people is that they're worried or there's fear, but they're not naming the why. Why are you actually afraid? And then when I get people to that point to finish that sentence, not I'm fearful, period, but I'm fearful, comma. And when they get to that sentence, they start to recognize, actually, if that were to happen, there's measures that you can take. And so, like, if you tell your brain that there's fear, your brain's going to be on high alert and stay in that mindset. But there's fear that comes there, but also I know, like, there's a solution for the worst case scenario.
Yes.
And I can't settle your brain for you. You have to be able to work on settling it. Because if you can really, like, make fear your friend, for me, it's like a norm for me to start something and feel a certain way. And like Jermaine says, it's not that there's something special in me. I always struggle when people say, like, oh, well, you're different, or everybody can't. And so for me, it's hard to hear, because I put in a lot of work and effort to think the way I think. I listen to books and I take notes. I'm a slow processor. People think people that are entrepreneurs are like these smart people. I'm far from. I'm not trying to, like, sell myself short, but I'm not like a quick processor. And I have to work harder to, like, take in new information. Old information I hear and it penetrates, but new information is harder for me. So it's really, putting in that extra work, getting up 30 minutes earlier. Like, it's not like it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. It's going to feel hard. But you got to think about, like Jermaine says, are you okay with things? If you're okay with things being the same, this conversation isn't even for you.
Yeah. No.
But if you're not okay with things being the same, then you have to take inventory. Then you have to actually, like, put in some effort, and know that, like, there's nothing special about other human beings that you may look up to or admire that creates this. It's really like a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that you're not able to see.
Yeah, and I appreciate it because I'm on the opposite end, and my difficulties are a little different. So I process information quickly, and that's my problem.
Mm.
So it's not necessarily about let me see this one thing through. It's about I have to put up safeties and boundaries to keep the other ideas out. So it's like, look, cat chasing like a flashy light or, like a sparkly object. Like if my brain will keep attaching to a bunch of different things at once. I have to train myself to stay on task. Like, okay, just don't go down these other rabbit holes. Don't start getting distracted on other this. Like to really I have to train myself to lock in on a particular thing, or I'll be trying to do 10 things at the same time all the time.
Yeah, I get it. When I talk to people, I'm like, wow, you have a lot of ideas. I was like, I don't know how, and I'm like, that doesn't happen for me. Like I'll lock in on that one idea. And I'm glad that Jermaine explained it, because we're two different people, and we're able to utilize some things that we need to help us.
Yeah.
What I use to get ahead and what Jermaine uses is different. What he struggles with and what I struggle with is different. And so like, you can never be that person that, don't ever think like, I wish I was that person. Because when he talks about having all those ideas, I'm like, dang, I can't imagine what that feels like, so you be mindful of the way that you're framing your situation.
Yeah, that's why ideas are nice. Effort is appreciated, but execution is worshipped. So you have 50 million ideas. That's wonderful. And I'm sure they'd all be amazing if you finished one of them. Effort is appreciated. Okay, you put a couple things on paper. You did a couple little things. That's great. I got to see you got started on something. How many of those 1,000,001 ideas did you actually drag across the finish line?
Yeah.
Oh, none of them. Oh, okay.
Let's get locked in. We got to get you guys locked in. Hopefully this episode will help you. And, as you're listening to this episode, if you have to re-listen to it, do that. Take notes, do that. Read those notes, do that. For people that are watching this on YouTube, like this is a notebook that I use, and I take notes with the books that I'm reading. The current book I'm reading now is Think Like a Monk. And, the stuff that Jay Shetty is saying in the book are things that I know, but just because I know it doesn't mean I don't work on making sure I hear it again.
Yes.
Because there's so many things that are happening in society. And I think if I'm not working on training my mind, then I'll get sucked into society. So like, this is one of the ways that I do that. For some people, they're not into audible books, or they're not into, and that's okay. When I share my way, doesn't mean I'm trying to push my way on you. I'm just trying to help you see like there's different options for you to get what you need.
Yeah, I think that when you're identify whatever your candle is, whatever adds a wick to your candle, whatever adds more wax to it, whatever keeps it so you can keep burning. Yeah, that's why my whole basis is said everything is self-awareness. Mm-hmm. What do you need for you? Yeah. What are the best steps for you? How do you approach things? What are the best ways for you? And then go from there, because you're going to be the same candle regardless of the environment. If other people see your light or not, you're still the same you. So it's best to understand ourselves, how we operate, what we need to do, and how we can best facilitate the stuff that we're trying to get to.
That's good. I love that. Thank you so much. This was like amazing. It feels like a lecture.
I would say doing these things with you is like when Bobby Brown tours with New Edition. It's like getting the band back together. It's always fun.
Yeah, it feels like a self-awareness lecture. And because, I do this work, full time and all the time, a lot of like I see a lot of trends in people, and this whole completion over perfection thing is so huge. And I think if people can like work on completing one task, it'll really give them the motivation to get to that next task. And so like the analogy Jermaine used around tabs, take a moment to think about what tabs do you have open in your life, and just pick one of those and take one step at a time. People think like, well, it's too late, or not enough time, and so you struggle. And I can't remember who said it, but there's a lot of like amazing ideas in the graveyard. And I think that the person that developed the phone, had an idea that, like, we can have cell phones and we don't have to use the cord anymore, right?
Yeah.
But it started with an idea, and then it was able to be fleshed out. So, you have something great in you. Like Les Brown says that all the time.
Yeah.
You have greatness in you. And if you don't believe it for yourself, it's, believe in my ability that I'm telling you this. Like, hold on to what I'm saying until your start kicking in. I think that's important.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Completing. Just let's just get across the finish line. Let's not worry about the time. Let's not worry about the form. Let's not worry about where you're placed. And was it Inky Johnson? Can you stay committed to what you said you were going to do after the feeling you said it in has passed?
Yeah, the feeling. Yeah.
So
That's another one. Yeah.
So not worry about how you feel about it. Just if you said you're going to do it, can you stay committed to the process after the feeling you said it in has passed? Just complete it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about any of the other stuff. Just start and finish. And it's amazing what that does to us when we have a track record of completion.
Yeah.
Self-esteem, like how we feel, determination, how we feel like we can accomplish, how we can do it. It gives us momentum, because momentum does not know the difference between positive or negative. So it doesn't discern the difference. So when you can just get in the habit of just getting on a roll, completing, you'd be amazed when you catch steam and what you can really accomplish when you get something going.
Good. This is good. If people wanted to like work with you, so Jermaine does self-disc assessments, and then also has a program. How do people reach you, and who is it built for?
I believe it's built for everybody, because I think that we can all.
Well, everybody who wants to. Some people may be fine with things being the way they are.
Well, so even if you're fine with the way things are, I look at the assessment in itself is just like an engine diagnostic. So at least you may choose or not to make any changes in your life, but at least know what you're working with. So the assessment breaks down how we deal and address problems, deal with people, how we work at pace, procedures, how we are naturally in the sense of like when we're not thinking about things, and are adaptive when we're thinking about the things we're thinking about, and we're aware of other people. Like, at least let me know, how do I approach the world? How do I interface with the world? Now, I may not be willing to do anything about it, or I may not want to make changes, whatever, but at least I know when this happens, I do this. When I'm faced with these situations, these are my go-to responses. These are the tendencies and the behaviors that I exhibit in all these different environments. So if I'm willing to change or not, here, at least I have an owner's manual to start with. I know what this check engine light means. And then for the people who do want to make changes, you have a starting point of where you are, and then you can understand where you want to be. And then we just put the steps of implementation to get you there. That's
good. And how can people reach you?
Yes. The easiest way is T.E.A.M effort program at gmail.com. That is really the simplest and easiest way. T.E.A.M EFFORT PROGRAM, T.E.A.M effort program at gmail.com.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your expertise. And if you guys enjoy this episode, again, there's a ton of other episodes. If you go to CelesteTheTherapist.com/podcast, there's a link for you to click on, and make sure you share it with somebody that you love. You do not understand how much information can help penetrate people. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I always love doing this. My favorite person in mental health.
Aww. Thanks.